Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about Jupiter's entry into Gemini, which is happening today, May 25th, 2024, and it will remain in Gemini until June 9th, 2025. So what I want to talk about a little bit is just how we've been feeling about Jupiter in Taurus and how the energy is going to change. And then I'm going to go through and just let you know by rising sign what house this will be affecting you and where you can look for your expansion within your everyday activities. So when we had Jupiter transiting through Taurus, I'm sure those of you that watch astrology were hearing a lot about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. This was something that doesn't happen. It's a rare event. And throughout Jupiter's transit in Taurus, there was an expansion of wanting to build security and to create a sense of solid and trusted environment, your home environment, your work environment, what you're building in the way of money, using your skills. Uranus was offering liberation in many ways, putting down a foundation for starting the platform of your growth, meaning your growth using your skills to make money or supply resources for your expansion, your abundance, your sense of security and safety in the world. So now Jupiter in this kind of more dense earth energy is taking flight in the sign of Gemini. Now, technically, Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini because it's in its furthest place from its home position. And yet at the same time, Jupiter rules foreign travel. So Jupiter is really fairly comfortable everywhere it goes. But here in Gemini, there is a sense of detail. You know, Jupiter likes to look at broad things, broad concepts and ideologies, and Mercury and Gemini are about the details of everyday life. There's going to be a big focus on intellect, on mental pursuits, on the expansion of the mind. And I want to offer it this way because as an intuitive astrologer, I have been watching Pluto going at the end or transiting the end of Capricorn and going into Aquarius. And for me, I've always felt this Aquarian age is going to be where we recognize that our thoughts are things and that they help create our manifestations. So now we go back to Jupiter in Gemini. When Jupiter's in Gemini and Pluto moves back into Aquarius in October, there's going to be a trine between these two planets, really offering us an awareness and an expansion of the way that we think, the way that we speak, our ideologies, our philosophies, our willingness to recognize that the universe is a much more benevolent and benign environment for us to create when we are more aware of our co-creation. I think that's really important. Jupiter rules things that are so big. You know, when you think about Jupiter rules higher education, PhDs, it rules the Supreme Court and the higher court systems. Now we put Jupiter into the sign of Gemini, and we see this overlay of things happening within our environment. So I kind of want to offer it this way. We could see the court systems having, the higher courts having more effect on our everyday lives through the bills that they pass. The United States is going to go into it, we're already in an election year. And so we'll experience that election in midstream of Jupiter's transit through Gemini. So we could see more things involving our children, the children's, how do I want to phrase this? We could see higher courts, or we could see even religious dynamics that are focusing in on the school systems, children's education, you know, grammar school, things like that. That would be very prevalent. You as an individual may find yourself wanting to expand your knowledge or take some classes and so that they will allow you to or offer you an opportunity to make more money as you expand your education within your current trade or career. You could very well see an expansion in sales. Gemini rules sales. Gemini rules our roadways. It rules early education, our siblings, rules our teammates, our workmates, the people that we interact with. It literally rules the school bus. It rules the pickup line at schools. So there could be an opportunity where you are more aware of your everyday environment, more aware of the things that you want, and then you start to focus in on that. And as a result of focusing in on the possibilities, you start to experience more things coming towards you versus having to chase them. I'm suddenly feeling like I want to bring up that Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius has two significant points in it: the great attractor and the galactic center. Both are opportunities to connect with larger ideas, meaning downloads from the universe, connect with your angelic team, and receive information. The great attractor is what it literally is what it says it is. So as we focus on things, we start to attract those resources to us. Jupiter in Gemini will make people who are standing in awareness more influential over their lives as they implement this divine tool. This thoughts are things, and what I speak represents my thoughts, and my thoughts represent my beliefs. So I think this is going to be super, super beneficial for those that are harnessing the energy. It's kind of like marrying two things together. While Gemini rules the details and Jupiter rules the expansion, I kind of think of them like salt and pepper. When you put them together, they season the situation beautifully. So I wanted to say a little bit about the type of careers and jobs where we could see expansion. We could see a real expansion in aviation, in jobs related to aviation. There could be, with Pluto's transit back into Aquarius later this year, there could be new types of vehicles that are presented to the masses over the next, well, we'll see that over the next 20 years for sure, with Pluto moving into Aquarius, but we could start to see those things being implemented. It starts off with people who have money being able to buy the cell phones in the 90s, and then they became something everybody used. So what I think is we may see people who have great wealth implementing new technologies and new devices that we will be using more in our everyday lives as we move further and further into this decade. We're going to see an expansion in our neighborhoods. We're going to see people coming together in common beliefs and creating groups, I think, that align together, that recognize their diversities and yet want to complement one another through that diversity. I also want to say that I think we're going to see an expansion within travel, any jobs related to tourism, that would include like travel agents. It could even include the hotel industry. You could see a lot more movement. It just feels like when Jupiter anchors into Gemini, it feels like things speed up very much so. And that's why we get to be a little bit more mindful of the details. They always tell us to look both ways before we cross the street. With Jupiter and Gemini, you may forget about something like that. So be a little bit more mindful in things like that. We're going to, I also want to offer this because both Gemini rules writing and anything to do with communications. Jupiter rules publishing, branding, influencing. So we could see if you're a writer, if you are an influencer, if you are creating content, you could see a real expansion in your subscribership and your potential. This could be very exciting. On the flip side, Jupiter in its expansion can be kind of gluttonous, can be a little bit entitled. So there is a little bit of that shadow side of Jupiter being a little bit of a Mr. Know-it-all. You know, in all its travels, it tends to be like, I know, let's move on to something else. And so there is that, there's an awareness that the big concepts will require the thoughtfulness of and the process of a mercurial experience to analyze a situation and put in the fine details. We could also see a huge jump in social activities, social activism, people standing up in their communities for the things that they believe in. We are already seeing quite a bit of that in the media right now. And that is also Pluto's effect in Aquarius. And I want to mention that today is the 25th, but we're going to experience a pretty powerful trine between Pluto and Jupiter around June 2nd. This will be probably when everybody will really feel the whoosh of Jupiter's entry into Gemini, because when I look at Pluto digging deep in Aquarius to revolutionize my own world, my life, and then Jupiter in trine to that, in the sign of my everyday life, we could very well see people starting to communicate, starting to implement new thoughts and ideas in their lives that they hadn't done before. And I think this is going to be super powerful. Gemini is very social and curious, and Jupiter's very expansive. So anything where you are creatively stretching yourself into your own personal expression could very well be celebrated by the people who are attracted to your material. And the reason that I think that this is so powerful, because it's going to set up Jupiter's entry into its exaltation in Cancer. So to me, the years 2020 and 2021 were a bit of a demolition. 2022, 2023, 2024 were about building awareness and planting those seeds into the material so that now they can take flight. And then really bring us into a strong home energy when Jupiter moves into Cancer in 2025. What was the other? Oh, I wanted to talk real quickly about the houses that this is going to affect. So if you're an Aries rising, you'll have the full benefit of Gemini being the natural third house. This again is going to focus on communication, intellect, education, our roadways, our movements, our our childhood, our children, our children's education. There is a very young and sort of Peter Panish energy to the Gemini mercurial dynamic. And I also want to offer this because the Gemini is the twins. So anything that you're doing to recognize that there is a bit of a duplicity to it, that there will be two sides to every story. Aries, this will be very powerful for you in communicating effectively within your teammates, your workmates, with your siblings, with the people that you interact with on a daily basis. For my Tauruses, you have Jupiter was just in your first house. Now it's moving into your second house to expand your skills, expand your self-confidence, to expand your ability to make money as you implement what you garnished from Jupiter's transit in your first house. Now it's going into your second house. This is super good energy for you, because this is an expansion of abundance. The second house naturally rules money. Then we add the layer of Gemini being my everyday activities, my everyday communications, and then Jupiter's expansion of that. Gemini, for you in your first house of self, you could really find yourself, in some ways you may find yourself implementing new belief systems. You could literally start to believe in yourself more. You could maybe even feel the wisdom of the Gemini energy of contemplating two sides to every story instead of feeling torn back and forth, trying to decide which one is best. You can find yourself putting yourself forward in business, in how you are expanding your career opportunities. That's going to be very, very powerful. You may also, if indeed you are, I don't know why I want to say this, but I'm just going to say it. If you are a Gemini who would like to have children, you may find that this year brings a child in. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know why it's the first house, but I think it's all about your wants and your desires. So if that's something that's on the docket for you in your heart, then that can very well take place. I think a lot of children are going to want to be conceived during Jupiter in Gemini so that they can be born when Jupiter is in Cancer. So that's pretty exciting. For my Cancers, Gemini is your 12th house. So there could be a real expansion of you revisiting some of your childhood memories, some of your childhood dynamics. You could even kind of uncover some hidden fears that you didn't realize you had. You could also feel a sense of a real deep sense of spirituality that you implement into your everyday life, almost as if the 12th house is a house of ancestral energy. It's also the house of the unseen, or where they call it the house of self troubles. And Gemini energy there could be that your mind has been, going back and forth and revisiting things that did not serve your forward motion. So now I feel like this Gemini and Jupiter in Gemini gives you an opportunity to connect with the divine and to feel the wisdom of whatever you've walked through, and to start to really take some time for yourself to self-care. I want to put it that way. Jupiter's expansion in the 12th house is very, very, it can very much affect how we think our ideologies may change. You may find yourself broadening within your religious beliefs, integrating different schools and systems, finding some beauty in Buddhism or in Tibetan rituals, or, in some of the other practices, and integrating them into your experience. I don't know why I want to put it that way. For my Leos, this is going to be in your 11th house. So Gemini 11th house is just an expansion of your hopes, your dreams, of your social groups, your networks, the people that align with your concepts. You could also see that you literally, you could potentially start a higher education program, go for your PhD, something that would take maybe a year or two to cultivate. And in doing so, that would broaden your reach within your networks. The 11th house is a house of hopes and dreams. So this expansion that's being offered is going to give you a taste of your hopes and your dreams. But there's also, I must say, with Gemini being that 11th house and Jupiter's entry into it, there's going to be an opportunity and an awareness that you're in your co-creation. You're going to have to put yourself out there, or you get to put yourself out there in a way that may reveal to the masses how you think, how you feel. But I believe personally, as an intuitive astrologer, that more and more people are going to respond to authenticity versus trying to put on a brave face. So Leo, you have a real opportunity to expand your wealth and networks, because the 11th house is also a house that represents reward over time, and it's a money house. Virgo, this is going to be in your house of career. This is a wonderful time to expand what it is you want within your careers. Some of the careers that Jupiter would have that could come into play for people. Anything in the court systems, like stenographers and jury foremen and jury members and people that help the court system run within our local state type environments. So we'll see that. I had written down a couple of jobs. Paralegals we have here. We have court reporters and stenographers and legal secretaries. All of this will fall under the 10th house of Virgo. I'm sorry, of Gemini, for my Virgo risings. You could see yourself being much busier than you had before. In fact, if you do work in the court system, you may be part of a case that gets into the media. And even though you are not a star within it, the case you're working on could be a high profile case. There is the potential for those of you that have careers with anything to do with movement, from planes, trains, to automobiles, to construction sites, to I mean, there's just sidewalks, roadways, escalators. There's so many things. So Virgo, you have an opportunity to expand whatever it is you want within your career here. And this is also good for import and export businesses, for sales, for writing, publishing. That's really powerful. And Virgo, if you want to expand your influence on an internet platform, this would be the time to really dig deep into that energy and apply your Virgo processes into this. Gemini is your sister sign, as you're both ruled by Mercury. And I think this is a really beneficial time. For my Libras, Gemini is your 9th house, which is Jupiter's natural 9th house. So we're going to see a potential of expansion within that area. Foreign travel, foreign places. Again, I'm resonating with the idea of publishing, writing, expressing your Venusian self through the internet, through broadening your reach out into the world, I guess I want to say. The other thing about the 9th house is you could literally see yourself traveling. You could see yourself doing a lot more work-related travel. That it could be that. You could also see potentially, I know this sounds a little off, but you could revisit people from your childhood in unusual places, like that you wouldn't expect, or that I remember one time being in France traveling and running into someone I knew from the United States that I'd grown up with, and that just came into my head. So there could be something about your expansion actually brings you more into your own home environment and more settled into the things that you want to birth. When I say settled, I mean emotionally, in your belief system settled as you implement it into the physical 3D world. Scorpio, Gemini is your 8th house. This could really see an expansion of business. You know, the 8th house naturally rules finance, other people's money. It rules banking and foreign investments. We could see a pop in foreign investments. You could find yourself digging deeper into how your mind works, or how the mind works in general, with Gemini and this psychological imprint of the 8th house. Scorpio, your natural 8th house is that deep dive into psychology. You could find yourself educating yourself on occult things, or even new financial opportunities, you know, broadening your knowledge about Bitcoin, or new forms of resources that are coming into play, even investments. For my Sagittarius, Gemini is your 7th house of partnerships. So you're going to see a real expansion within your philosophies and your ideologies about partnerships. And these aren't always just marriage partnerships. Oftentimes they can be business partnerships. There's also this overlay of the 7th house, which, how do I create harmony, peace, fairness kind of thing? You could see that potentially, I don't know if you would, you know, Sagittarius rising could, this is the interesting thing. Sagittarius rising is naturally ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in your 7th house, which is in its detriment. And at the same time, there's a feeling of being comfortable with the diversity that it's offering. I almost feel like there could be an expansion of how you want to partner with business professional people, so that it creates a bigger sense of your self-worth, your value, which creates more harmony for you, and feelings of being the boss in your own life. I guess I want to put it that way. Capricorn, Gemini is your 6th house of work. So there can be a real expansion of the work that you want to do, that how you take care of your health. You could find yourself really going in different directions, researching new materials, trying out different things. You may find yourself even wanting to look into, I want to say, like, I just got the thought of a spa, massage, body work, things that will help your bones feel more aligned as you walk through this house of health and work. And Jupiter expands your awareness within that and the duplicity of what Gemini offers. Sort of, you may even find that your mental health becomes more in the forefront of your awareness, because the sixth house rules mental health, stress from our everyday lives, from the work that we do, the service we do to others. We also see that it is with Jupiter there, there's going to be what are my big ideas about myself? For instance, Capricorn is dutiful and obligatory. I need to do this. I have to be responsible. There could be a rewrite of what you're responsible to in this period of time. You may start to think, I want to be responsible for how I feel and the stress levels that I have. And as I give new ideas and take flight into those new ideas about how to be of service or how I want to run my everyday work life, you can see a real expansion of the opportunities there. And with the natural diligence and endurance of Capricorn, you could see yourself making a lot more material resources. Aquarius Gemini is your fifth house of creation. You could literally give birth to, conceive twins at this time. And if any of you are Aquariuses and you do that, please let me know. I would be fascinated. But there's also a strong pull for creativity, for birthing that sense of myself, allowing my creative ideas and my thoughts to be birthed into the physical world. Again, we are becoming more and more society run by technology, by the opportunities that we can sit down, open our computers, and we can publish things that the world can see. So very much, I think Aquarius is going to start to implement that energy, wanting to, again, Aquarius Gemini trines the energy. So this can be a favorable year for expansion. And while Jupiter is technically in detriment, here I feel like Jupiter will be fostering those cosmic collectiveness of Aquarius, wanting to nurture a bigger picture, an idealistic picture of how the world could be. And your personal creativity, the fifth house of Gemini, could be part of the recipe that helps move that story forward. Pisces, this is your fourth house of home and self-nurturing. And you could very much find siblings, teammates, people that are within your home environment, people that you grew up with, coming into your physical experience over the next year, or hearing a lot more about them. You might also feel a sense, Gemini is not only mutable, and as is Pisces, but Pisces is two fish, Gemini is the twins. There could be a sense of Jupiter's expansion of the beliefs of the possibilities could open up the division within your home potentially, or the duplicity within your home, the two sides of how your home is. And I want to offer it this way, because if you've been like, well, I can only afford this, but I really want that, then Jupiter will be like, let's start to focus on that part and what it would feel like, and give you an opportunity for the universe to come in and bring in resources that would facilitate that. But even more so, I think it's coming up with partnerships somehow, my siblings, the people I interact with, and my thoughts about that, and maybe even potentially expressing more of your what you are thinking. Pisces is so cooperative and so empathetic that sometimes it's more of a listener than a talker. And here, I think you may be talking about home, talking about property, talking about wanting to potentially move your situation into something more expansive, more aligned to maybe a new chapter of life. When we're kids, we get our first apartment, we live on with crate boxes and things. And then as we age, we get more refined furnitures, etc. So there may be something about wanting to bring more, there could also be more social activity in your home. That's the other thing I didn't think about. Gemini is very social, as is Jupiter. So there could be an expansion of you. You might even be bringing, it could be, I'm just throwing this out there. You could potentially invite people in your home to, talk like a book club, or potentially talk about subjects that are of a higher mind, and bringing people together to enjoy those conversations. So it's going to be a very, very, I think it's going to be a fabulous year. Yeah, there's the potential for large systems, like, higher courts to infringe upon our everyday liberties. And there's, a bit of a Mr. Know-it-all feeling with Jupiter's energy. And yet at the same time, I don't know that I feel like this is happening on an individual basis. I feel like that might be happening on a broader basis. And this will be part of the Pluto's influence. As Jupiter exasperates some of the Gemini energy, Pluto's rebirth opportunities will come into play to create something that will initially maybe disruptive, but then will align in a much more succinct way, so that those of us standing in awareness of our thoughts will start to live out our dream lives in the material world. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you will come back and look for more content. I am live on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. That's where we look at the transits and we get the angels' advice. We do a little reading with a tarot card and the angels cards. So I hope you'll join me. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment, and most of all, be gentle with yourself. See you soon.